So I'm going to talk about the work that Haida Nation is involved in looking after both our marine and land terrestrial territories. There's a map on the side. It's called Ocean and Way of Life, and that's kind of summarizes some work that we did documenting marine traditional knowledge. Involved work with elders. It ended up publishing a document that we have been using in marine planning. It was also something that we filed when we were objecting to the Enbridge Northern Gateway project. So it became a public document, at that time. It's on the website as, some of the evidence that was filed against Enbridge. It's also been a very, very helpful for us in terms of, the planning, for the marine area. So this is a map just so you can orient yourself. And some of you are not from British Columbia, so we're located in northern British Columbia. We live on the archipelago west of Prince Rupert, Haida Gwaii. For a short time it had the name Queen Charlotte Islands, but that was changed back a few years ago. You'll see there's there's some boundaries here. The dotted line here is our Haida territory, so that's our statement of claim area. The red area is the area that we're currently working with the province on developing a marine plan, and I'm going to talk a little more about that. The shaded area is an area that's, again, it's an area we're developing a marine use plan for the northern British Columbia called Pacific North Coast Integrated Management Area, or PNCMA. And there we're working with the province of BC and federal government. Department of Fisheries and Oceans is the lead. You'll also see there's these these black areas kind of along the coastline. Those are some established protected areas that the Council of Haida Nations established with the province of British Columbia. And they're managed, through an agreed structure, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. This other little area up here, the Sunkinpus, is a seamount. It's 130 kilometers west of Haida Gwaii, and that's an area that we're jointly developing a management plan with Department of Fisheries and Oceans, the federal government. And then this area down in the south, Guayhanas, is another area that's currently jointly managed with the federal government. So I'm just going to tell fairly briefly a short story just about each kind of area, particularly the Guayhanas, and then the land use planning, and then what we're doing on marine planning. An important part of how we got these agreements, is Haida Gwaii Watchmen. So we established a presence in the area at some of the ancient village sites, and that was really the eyes and ears, as well as the looking after the land in those areas. A lot of the activity in that area is tourism, right? And so it's the current management plan kind of manages that. And our interest in the marine plan is looking at some other marine activities, whether they're fisheries or other kinds of activities. The other short story is just around land use planning, and so this. Haida Nation, has designated areas, and then we've used that as a tool, for negotiation around areas. So, with Guayhanas, it was designated, as a protected area, prior to, when it was protected and prior to the agreement. And then that's managed currently through, again, it's a joint management process, with the province. There's a management council and solutions table that makes decisions on the land, whether it's on the total allowable cut. It's made it through a consensus decision, so the authorities delegated to make that decision, and then you try to reach consensus on other recommendations. I'm not going to talk about this, but this is another example, Santinthus, where there's there's an agreement in place, and we're currently working on a management plan for that area. The marine use planning, it started out with a partnership, with DFO, First Nations, right, and the province, to develop a management plan for this whole area of northern British Columbia. That fell apart, around 2011, when DFO backed out of the basically funding for the process, that was coming from the Moore Foundation. And then First Nations withdrew from the process. Some First Nations re-engaged, Haida Nation re-engaged, with coastal First Nations in the process. Namakolis decided that, they had enough of it. They didn't re-engage. What's happening with Pensima is we've been re-engaged for the last year and a half. There's a plan that's being developed. We feel it supports kind of the work we've been doing on our local Haida Gwaii plan. And so its endorsement is expected, maybe in December this year. And it does include some important priorities for us, including commitment to a governance framework and then also a marine protected area network. When Pensima fell apart, we worked the Haida Nation, with through Coastal First Nations, Namakolis, and also North Coastina First Nation Stewardship Society, formed a partnership to develop sub-regional plans. So the province has been working with us to support sub-regional planning, and one of those plans is for the Haida Gwaii region, and that is expected to be completed. The process for MAP is to be completed by June next year. Our marine plan, these are some of the things that are in our plan. I'm not going to go into detail. There's a spatial plan, which is mainly protected areas. There's also policy and management guidelines, and then it's an EBM approach, with the to development, so it's looking at different kinds of rules for how we manage development, in the area, and it also includes a governance framework. Just strategically, what we've done, it has been. We spent about 5 or 6 years developing an internal plan, and that was with the Haida Marine Work Group. So the Haida Nation appointed a group, a committee, and I think we had something like 45 meetings, over 6 years, where we worked on kind of what do we want out of a marine plan. And that formed the basis, I guess, for the plan that we've been working with the province on. In the last 2 years, we've been working with the province, and we've had a Marine Advisory Committee, which is kind of a multi-stakeholder group that they've reviewed our plan, they've provided advice, we've made some changes and things like this, but it's not a consensus process, it's an advisory group, but we have responded to some of their concerns. I think the work they've done is they've helped to improve the work that we had initially done and made it a lot stronger. So this is the last slide, and this is just kind of where I think I think we have been successful. We still have to see what's going to happen with marine planning. But some of the key factors we have is, by designating these areas, spending some time and deciding, where are the important areas for us. It helps us in terms of what are our goals, right? And it also, we show that to people, and they know what our expectations are as well. So it provides a really clear understanding in terms of where we want to go. Right, and then it's a basis for trying to see where you can have partnerships, decide knowing where there's going to be problems. We have used a whole variety of approaches to achieve kind of those goals that our community has, right? Whether it's political, through blockades, right, or legal, right, or also negotiation. And negotiation probably has sometimes taken the longest. I heard the comment, the legal cases take so long. Well, sometimes the negotiation takes a long time, particularly if who you're negotiating, they're ignoring you. They don't want to agree to, what you. And so we're persistent. Also, I guess the other thing is, protected areas and protection is very important, but also kind of economics has to be addressed. And I think we've done that in kind of in all cases. We've had to kind of demonstrate to our community. And I think the last thing is just about taking kind of a long-term view. So, right now, our marine plans, we don't have federal support for our Haida Gwaii Marine Use Plan. They're not involved in it. But I think we have a number of, so we're building leverage, you know, to kind of get them involved. And it might not happen this year or next year, right? But I think we're in a good position, you know, to have that involvement. We're also, and also the whole time, you know, we have a reconciliation process, you know, with the Crown that's ongoing. And it's based on the title case that has been filed, and that is, it's currently, it's not in advance, but it, you know, either we're going to kind of move forward on some of these initiatives, or we will be kind of back in court.
Thank you.